Well, welcome back to Tech Garage presented by Advance Auto Parts. Well, we got our beautifully painted RSX Resurrection car back in for an upgrade ignition system. You saw earlier on the training board I had a distributor ignition system. Brian was working on a distributorless coil-on plug similar to this one. Now our friends at Console Lab, they sent the exact same ignition system on this one, which is distributorless, and it's a coil-on plug system. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reach down here and I'm going to fire up the power just like we were firing up an engine. This is the engine driving the crankshaft. So what's going on is you have a whole package over here. You have the actual coil, you actually have the spark plug wire and the spark plug all right here in one unit. So where's the distributor? It's gone. It's distributorless, coil on plug, everything built into one unit. How does it work? Well, instead of having some pickups in the distributor, it simply uses a computer. You have what's called a cam and a crank position sensor. Up here, the motor is driving the crank position sensor, and then the belt comes down and drives the cam position sensor. And here's a good tip for you. When your car quits, a lot of times you got to determine if it's a cam or crank position sensor. Not every time, but a good tip is I can go down here and I can actually unplug the cam position sensor, and what happens, it's not in play anymore, and the car is still sparking. Well, why is it still sparking? Well, it goes into backup. The computer takes over and he can handle it with the crank position sensor itself. But if I come over and I plug that in and I unplug the crank position sensor, well, see, now he doesn't even know where to start. So if I fire it up, we have no spark at all. So I would chase the crank position sensor first if I was doing any diagnostics. Now we took one of our coils and we actually cut it open. So you can see right here, the primary windings and the secondary windings. Low voltage, points open, computer opens, induces a voltage into the secondary, giving us that big spark. Now the nice part about the Excel coils, you got some specialized steel in here, which is keeping them wrapped up real nice, delivering that hard spark, along with the high silicone temperature here and that OE connector. Now we're getting that on our RSX. Let's check in and see how it's coming along.
Ignition firepower upgrades, one of my absolute favorite projects. Now, if you think about the total equation here on our RSX, we replaced the injectors, we put a cold air intake on, so we're flowing more fuel, we're flowing more air, and now we'll be flowing more fire. Here's what 3 of the new coil packs look like from Excel. Now, couldn't be an easier project to do. You got 4 10mm bolts, 4 connectors, got that one loose. There's the old coil pack. John showed you how that worked. And again, here's what Excel sent us, the classic yellow. The good news is you can get these in blue and black these days, but we love that classic yellow look. But before I put this on, I'm going to go ahead and replace the spark plug, which I've done over here as well. We're upgrading here to the NGK Iridium. That is a beastie plug. We're going to be throwing a lot of fire into those cylinders, which we love. We're going to get better throttle response, we're going to get better fuel economy, and ultimately the icing on the cake of the power equation we've worked so hard to establish. Now here's a tip for you. In these distributorless systems, when you've got that whole tube, ignition tube going down in there, it's typically a long throw down in. Take a little bit of dielectric gel, put it in your socket, and that's going to create lubrication so that plug won't get stuck or hung up in the socket. That way you're not fighting it to get it out. So I've got a little dielectric gel in the socket. There we go. Old plug is loose, and now I can just work it up out and not worry about everything getting stuck down in there. Just makes it go a little faster, a little more efficient, not hard to do. And if you put that dielectric gel in your socket, it helps you on the install. That plug is going to seat up in there very nicely. Again, you don't want to cross thread this going down in. You also want to do this when the engine is not hot because you don't want to have any warpage anywhere around that spark plug mounting hole. Going right down in. We'll get it reseated here. And we are on our way. And I'm using dielectric gel everywhere, every electrical point of contact. There we go. Now, the new coil pack, a little bit of dielectric gel here. Again, moisture insulator. I just like to have that for additional insurance down in there. It only goes in one way. I'm gonna get it down so far. Got gel on my connector. Seat that, listen for the click. And we just gotta remount this thing, we're ready to go. Now, this is going to be one awesome distributorless ignition system on our RSX, but if you're making something like 4,000 horsepower like they do down at Bernie's, you need a lot more than this. John's on the road now to show us how all that works. So stay with us on Tech Garage, presented by Advance Auto Parts.